We've seen in both houses some of the more conservative members in the Senate and in the House. We saw a little bit of a kerfuffle with Senator Scott and Leader McConnell, and obviously it looks like he's going to prevail. The Freedom Caucus in the House making some rumblings. Do you expect debt ceiling problems? Do you expect the more, I don't want to characterize them as extreme, but just say people that have not liked the spending that we've seen? Do you think they'll go nuclear, go scorched earth on things like that in terms of debt ceilings in any spending?
Well, a couple things. The debt ceiling will ultimately be raised. We know that from history. Democrats may choose to do it in this kind of lame duck session. But keep in mind that debt ceiling negotiations have brought about some of the most important deficit reduction activity that we've seen. The Budget Control Act as one example, which Mitch McConnell negotiated. So it'll get, the debt ceiling is going to be raised. Whether I vote for it or not, it's going to be raised. That's just history. But it also can be a catalyst for kind of let's get our fiscal house somewhat in order. So I don't view that as negative. I view that as a positive.
Do you, at this point, sir, see any actual legislation, or just the lack of legislation is going to be maybe what the economy ordered? Is there anything we can do proactively? What about energy? Anything that Republicans just controlling the House can do about energy?
I think there is a possibility of a grand bargain on energy. Right now, for example, I'm concerned that our environmental regulations, which I strongly support, almost all of them, are basically lowering the cost of production in China and India and Asia elsewhere, and therefore incenting companies to move operations. I can give anecdotes that prove that point. Is there legislation that both sides can agree upon that would basically level the playing field? Hey, if you want to move to China, that's fine, but you're not going to benefit by bringing your goods back here, taking advantage of their lower cost of production because they ignore environmental regulations. I'd like to think both sides can come together on that. And frankly, I've been speaking with both sides. I think there's an appetite for that.
Senator, you saw the developments of the week. It's thrust FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried into the news. There's this perception that he was the second biggest fundraiser for the Democrats, but he contributed to you as well, and I'm sure there were other Republicans that he contributed to. But are you the exception to the rule, or how did that happen? And what are you going to do? Anything? Are you going to give it back, or go somewhere else with it? How are you going to handle that?
You know, I was talking to my wife about that this morning, and I think what other folks have been doing have been contributing the funds that they receive from this gentleman to charity. I'll probably give it to the Salvation Army here in Louisiana. They've got incredible programs for the homeless, incredible programs for those who are broken, if you will, a drug addiction, et cetera, trying to restore them to wholeness. It's a great charity. Let's take something which is obviously a terrible negative, but do something positive with it.
Senator, did you ever meet with him, speak with him?
You know, we were at a table together once. I remember seeing him, but I can't really say we conversed. It was a larger group of people.
Has your view about crypto changed? Did he have any influence over it? And I will say, and I remember I was going back to look, because when El Salvador adopted Bitcoin, you came out with some pretty harsh words about all this and suggested effectively that the United States should be worried about trying to combat money laundering and preserve the role of the dollar.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say this entirely taints crypto. Bitcoin is a separate category of crypto than what this gentleman was using. I can imagine that Bitcoin might be the last person standing, and I know this not from my own base of knowledge, but from speaking to those who are knowledgeable. Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming, is an expert on all this, and so I think there's a future for it. The markets will decide, but clearly, folks have gone into this kind of with eyes closely shut, ignoring some fundamentals beneath it, and that's not the way you should enter into any business transaction.